Magic to work, you have to truly believe in the Magic.
Welcome to Let's Talk Magic, an Orlando Magic UK podcast. Tonight is an episode where we're going to go around the league and get a view from a little bit outside of Orlando. We're going to delve into another team, the Indiana Pacers, but crucially, we're going to get views on the Orlando Magic at the same time. Firstly, you'll see I'm joined by friend of the Zebras, G. How are we doing?
I'm good, mate. I think I'm in the camp with Luka Doncic at the moment, aren't I?
What camp's
Me and
that?
Luka hate the referees.
They upset you again?
Sorry, mate, say again.
Have they upset you again?
Wow, I was a bit upset that Dallas didn't win, and I'm sure we'll get onto that in a little bit. But those damn Zebras. But there we go. You boys looking forward to the football? Of course, it's starting tonight.
Yeah, it's coming home.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
What, the England team played?
I don't know if it's a good. I don't know if it's a good thing that England are actually bookies' favourites to win it all. I'm not quite sure, but if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see G's wearing one of his How many teams do you support, G? 27.
Anyone who plays England, mate.
Anyone who plays England or Liverpool.
Yeah, no. Denmark are my tournament team, and Wales never qualified. So that's the little story behind that, and it just so happens they're in England's group. So. No, but good luck to you boys and to the Scots. I know Angus and Barry and the boys be watching Scotland play Germany right now. So good luck to them, and hope everyone enjoys the tournament.
Should be good, but obviously we're gonna soldier on through and miss the opener to record the pod. So if you're listening, that's the sacrifices we make. And we're also joined by Scrumpy Jack. I couldn't let that one go from last time. Mikey's back on the pod. How's it going to the side of King of the Southwest?
Doing well, mate. Doing well. Looking forward to the start of the Euros. It's quite a nice little filler this summer. Whilst we got a little build up to the draft and free agency in a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to it.
As advertised, you might have seen this on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Tonight we're going to be joined by a man known to anyone who has that platform. It will be the Indiana Pacers Spaces host. Don't say that after a couple of ciders. Certainly a man with the soft spot for the Magic. We're going to be welcoming in Wes Trueblood. Right, so Magic fans, the next part, as promised, we now have the one and only Wes Trueblood
Making me smile.
/X fame joining us. Wes, welcome to the pod. For those of you anyone out there who doesn't know who Wes is, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit how you're feeling after that season as a Pacers fan.
So my name is Wes Trueblood, Bloomington, Indiana. That's where I'm from. That Pacer season. So the Pacer season was great. And to me, all I wanted was a 7-game series. That's what I wanted. At the beginning of the season, I wanted to make the playoffs, ideally not having to go through the play-in. We didn't have to do that. We just made it. And winning the 7-game series, we won 2 of them. Now, I know people say, well, there was injuries and all that. Well, the Pacers can't help that. But all one 7-game series. We got 2. We played a third. It was an amazing season. It topped any realistically optimist perspective at the beginning of the season. No one would have said Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, that wouldn't be realistic. So it was an amazing season. It was great. I couldn't ask for anything better. We escaped more or less injury-free. Halliburton was injured at the end of the season, like we all kind of thought. He came back too early. But no, we're in a great place.
So you clearly have a soft spot for the Magic from our interactions on Twitter and other Magic fans, or X as you call it now. So how did this come about?
So I'll give you a truncated version. Even the truncated is a little bit long, but I'll do my best to keep it condensed. So the Magic played the Pacers November 19th this past season. And the Magic, it was in Indy, and the Magic absolutely trounced the Pacers. It was awful. It was not close. I think the score ended up being 128-116. That does not reflect how badly the Magic beat the Pacers. And Halliburton was really on a heater at that point, and the Magic were the first team that were able to really stop him. By really stop him, they really stopped him. Suggs really made life difficult on him. And that next day, I was on Twitter, I was on X, and, I saw a Raptors fan and a Magic fan going back at it. Now, they were going to play the next day. They were going to play the 21st. I'm almost sure it's the 21st. And I saw a Raptors fan saying, there's no way that you guys can beat us. You guys are a joke, blah, blah, blah. And I had just been destroyed. My team had just been destroyed by the Magic. So I hopped in and said, I'm a Pacer fan, and I believe the Magic will beat you guys. keep in mind, I had like 60 followers at this point. No one really cared what I said or when I said it or how I said it. And it was in a chain, it was in a stream or a thread. And Raptors fans really took umbrage at what I said. And all of a sudden I had like maybe 15 or 20 bookmarks. It had to be from Raptors fans waiting to come back and, ask for receipts, ask how things work, because they really believed they were going to win. Well, the Magic won. And a Magic fan with a pretty big following, maybe his Everyday Carter, I can't remember who it was, but they quote tweeted my post showing, that I had a bunch of bookmarks. And he said, look, looks like the Raptor fans are going to come after him. They can't do it now. And so I had probably 15 or 20 Magic fans just, follow me, request my friendship, however you want to put it. And about another week later, my sister was going to go down to Orlando, and she loves basketball. She's a Pacer fan, but she had heard things about the Kia Center, maybe from me, that there's a great experience there. And so she's like, well, I'm going to watch a game there. And so I actually just, posted, hey, Magic friends, which I didn't have very many at that point. My sister's going to go watch a game there. And I got a private message from a Magic employee saying, hey, we saw your post. Can we hook your sister up with, swag, maybe get her to meet a player, something like that? I was like, absolutely. So I was really appreciative of that. And then my sister went to the Magic game, and she was kind of texting me what was going on, and I was texting it, live tweeting it, I guess. And I don't know why it happened or what happened, but the Magic fans just showed me a ton of support. And actually one person quote tweeted me and said, this guy's single-handedly bridging the gap between Pacers and Magic fans. Well, all this happens right around, I lost my mom not long ago, and she loved Thanksgiving. I was incredibly depressed around that time. She loved Christmas. And the Magic fans reaching out to me, the Magic employee who reached out to me, meant a lot to me. And I'm an incredibly loyal person. And I just cannot thank those fans. There's some of them that did more than others, but Magic fans just came to my side and my aid, and I've never, ever, ever forgotten it. And that's really how things started. I had like 60 followers. Now I have 1,500, and most of that is because of Magic fans. Quote tweeting my stuff, liking my stuff, whatever. NBA University had for some reason, he liked a couple of my posts and followed me, and he actually posted at one point the things I like, cats, people responding to my post, and West Trueblood. And I just got tons of followers. So Magic fans are responsible for whatever meager following I have. So that's more or less the story. I could get into more detail, but we're in a shortened time period. So that's it.
That's awesome.
Cool, man.
I saw that.
Yeah. So, Wes, what's the mood in Orlando is very optimistic after what's been a great season. What's the mood over in Indiana, and how are you feeling about next season and why?
It's very optimistic. I think some Pacer fans are too optimistic. Let me address them first. I think a lot of Pacer fans, or some, or maybe a vocal minority, believe that now the Eastern Conference Finals is kind of the threshold. That's what we should expect. I could not disagree more or more loudly. Yeah, we made the Eastern Conference Finals, but let's not act like we didn't have a fairly easy path. And I think if we set that up as the bar, is what we need to do for success, a lot of people are going to be very disappointed. Twitter is going to be, or Pacers Twitter, it's going to be horrible to be on next season. I don't think we're going to make the Eastern Conference Finals next season. I think the odds are decidedly against it. And I think, for me, it's another 7-game series and the development of our young players. But I'm incredibly optimistic because we got playoff experience. That's what I wanted. I wanted us to get playoff experience for young guys. I think we had maybe 2 or 3 rotation players who actually had, playoff experience. Miles Turner, Siakam, who won a title with Toronto, and I think maybe Obi had some with the Knicks. I think that's it in terms of rotation players. So I wanted our younger guys to get an experience playing in the playoffs, and they did. And so I'm optimistic because we have young players on rookie deals who still have a lot of room to develop. Andrew Nembhard, Ben Mathurin, who was hurt at the end of the year, Jarris Walker, who got some playing time last year, but he was pretty raw coming in, but he looks really, really, really good. And Ben Shepherd, who is amazing, and he actually was a rotation player for the Pacers last season as a rookie in the playoffs. So I'm optimistic about those guys developing. I'm optimistic about more time between Halliburton, a healthy Halliburton, a fully healthy Halliburton, and Siakam getting to gel more. The future is bright for the Pacers. I think we're about 2 or 3 years away from really, really, really honestly contending. But yes, I'm incredibly optimistic. Most Pacer fans.
You mentioned Obi Toppin before, and we've shared a bit of a mutual appreciation of our love of Obi Toppin. And could you tell anyone who's watching or listening how important Obi Toppin's been for the Pacers as the season unfolded in Indiana?
So we got him for 2 second-round draft picks, which I thought was a steal, and in hindsight, it was a steal. He was the Pacers starting power forward at the beginning of the season, and he lost that job in early December to Jalen Smith. And I was curious how he would respond, because with New York, he did not like the fact that he was basically not getting a start, that he thought he should be, I don't know, starting alongside Julius Randle or in place of, I don't know, but that was the reporting. So I was really worried that he would shut down. He did not. He addressed things he'd been bad at earlier in the season. He became a really good rebounder. He did everything we needed him to do. Him and T.J. McConnell kind of became the leader of the shock troops coming off the bench and gave all types of teams a lot of trouble from December on, but especially late in the season, especially in the playoffs. He was incredibly vital for the Pacers. He's an unrestricted free agent. I think we will sign him. If for no other reason, we might just sign him kind of Machiavellian to use him in a trade. I think he'll get paid, the mid-level acceptance 12.8. I think he'll get 15, maybe a 3-year 15, or maybe a 2-year 42 like what Bruce Brown did. We only signed Bruce Brown to that to trade him, which we did. So he was incredibly important for our team, especially down the stretch, and he's going to be incredibly important moving forward as a vital player on our team or as a trade asset or salary in a trade.
The energy and athleticism is just as a
it's through the roof. It's through the roof. I mean, he fit we like to run, we like to get out and move, and I knew that I was going to see several times Obi coming down from the rafters to dunk it, and he did. And he did several in between the legs dunks and fast breaks. He did it once against the Knicks in New York, and he missed it. That was embarrassing for him. He went in between the legs, and he missed it, and they just gave him a lot of crap for it, a lot of trouble. But, yes, he's high-flying. And I forgot to mention, he was so efficient. So he shot 57% from the field. 57. But his effective field, gosh, I should have checked this. Can't remember what EFG was, but it was great because he shot 40% from three, I think on 3.5 attempts, and shot 57% from the field. He was so incredibly efficient, and his defense got better. Now, it wasn't great, but the bar's on the floor. He was horrible at defense to begin with. So, yeah, he was great. He was great. High flyer, he fit with our style. Him and Halliburton got outran. Him and McConnell got outran. Him and Nimbar got outran. And he shot well. I don't know if he can repeat that. Shooting's not a sticky stat. I don't know if he'll be able to do 40% again next year on that many attempts. But even if it's 37, I can live with that.
Yeah,
he's great. Vital.
Wes, you brought up an interesting point about Bruce Brown. You signed him essentially to eventually move him. The Magic fans are almost looking at this off-season about adding a player with to add 3-point shooting and help spread the floor and maybe add a max player. There's probably something that a lot of us aren't really considering is whoever the Magic sign in free agency this summer could be that piece that maybe lands them a big player, because Bruce Brown was part of that deal for Pascal Siakam, and that arguably was the move that made you help reach the Eastern Conference Finals this season.
Yeah, so that was vitally important. I keep using vital. I'll try to find a different descriptor. It was very important. It was very important for that. And so just to rewind, when we signed Bruce Brown in free agency, I didn't know what the deal was going to be for. When I saw it was 2-year, $42 million, second year team option, I was like, oh, they're using this to trade it. They're not going to actually. First of all, that's an overpay on Bruce Brown, and I love Bruce Brown, but $21 million a year is a vast overpay for a guy who it was an okay starter, solid rotation player for Denver, or solid bench piece / rotation player. But it was a vast overpay, and I figured that they were going to use him to trade for another player. And that's what they did. And reporting came out subsequently that that's why they signed him to that. I mean, that doesn't make me Kreskin because I thought about it when they first did it. It was just fairly obvious. So it was a smart move. We have a smart front office, and, we couldn't. The free agents, here's the thing, we wanted Pascal Siakam last summer. We tried to trade for him. The Raptors would not move. They would not, even though they knew they weren't, it's so crazy, they knew they weren't going to extend Siakam. But they had a better deal on the table from us during the summer. Now, I don't know what it is, but it's been reported it was better. And they waited, and they got a lesser deal. So they probably could have got one of our younger guys in the summer, but they chose to mess around. But, that's exactly what he was used for. And I thought about a similar situation with the Magic. I mean, anyway, we can get to that later, but I've actually considered what the option would be to do something similar to that.
Yeah. So as an outsider, and obviously without, for us, Magic tinted glasses on, how good is Paolo Banchero from your perspective? So just wanted to see what, the Pacers thought of him and the NBA in general.
Well, unfortunately, the NBA in general, they don't watch the Magic play that often.
No.
How many? Did the Magic have one nationally televised game this year?
OKC.
Not counting the playoffs. Yeah, OKC.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't watch him play. They really have no idea what he does, how he does it. And unfortunately, they get a lot of their news views about him from Raptors fans who want to always bring up his effective field goal percentage and how it's not great. And, I mean, yes, it could be better. It got better from his rookie year. I think it was like 46. I'm talking about his EFG at this point. And at the end of the second year, I want to say it was 50%, which isn't great. It's not great. But you have to think about the context. There is horrible spacing on the Magic, absolutely horrible spacing. He needs to become a better shooter, but it's hard for him to become a better shooter when he's not good enough right now, and the other team's just going to lay off of him. He needs to drive into the lane to score, and there's just a bunch of they pack the paint. It's really difficult for him to have a high AFG. So I think getting better spacing will help. But I think Paolo is great. He has the size. He has the ability to score well. I think he's going to get much better at scoring. He's going to get much better at shooting. His defense is good to great. It's going to get even better. But here's the thing about Paolo that I love, and I saw this in person. His playmaking. It was good at Duke. It's great at Orlando. But when you see a player live, I saw him play the Pacers live back in December. We lost that game. Pacers did. Anyway, Paolo doesn't just pass to guys or pass to open guys. That's the difference between a passer and a playmaker. A playmaker throws guys open. He sees where they need to be. He sees where they are, and he puts the ball where for them to get to where he wants them to go, they have to move that way. Anyway, he passes guys open. He has a brilliant, brilliant court vision. I just think he has the capacity to be great, really, at all levels of the game. I think he has the capacity to be a top 10 player soon, very soon, maybe by the end of next year. I don't know. I thought he was a top 20-ish player this year, but he's 21. I think he turns 22 in November. He's not even close to his prime. I think he's really good right now. I think he has the potential to be really, really, really great, a superstar. Soon-ish, maybe sooner rather than later. But the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah.
Now, Pacers, sorry, forgot about that aspect. Pacer fans are not very high on Paolo. They still harbor an irrational grudge. Maybe most grudges are irrational. I don't know. This one definitely is. That at one point during the rookie season between Ben Mathurin and Paolo, that there was a time, and there wasn't, by the way, this never happened, but Pacer fans believe it does, or did, that Ben was a more deserving rookie of the year, that he was better. At no point, let me be very clear, at no point was Ben Mathurin ever better than Paolo as rookie year. I wish that wasn't the case. I'd love to come on here and say, oh, yeah, Mathurin's better. He wasn't. Now he definitely isn't. But at no point did that happen. But a lot of Pacer fans believe that it did. They want to believe that it did. They lie to themselves. I don't know why they think that. But it's crazy. It doesn't coincide with the facts. It's irrational. So Pacer fans are loath, I don't even know if that's strong enough, loath to admit that he's good, that he's going to be great. I got a debate with one of my Pacer friends last night. Vinny Eastside is his Twitter handle, if anyone wants to look him up and give him hell. He doesn't believe Paolo's really good at all. He brings up the EFG like a hack. I love you, Vinny, but that's a hack move without bringing in the context. And he's like, well, because I said he's going to be better than Jason Tatum. I'm not that high on Tatum, but I think he's going to be better than Tatum. He's like, well, Tatum's EFG is second year. I said, dude, are we really doing this his second year? So based on his second year, you've already going to determine how good or how bad Paolo's going to be. Benny's got to do what he's got to do. He's a homer Pacer fan, and I respect that. But, so Pacer fans, Benny included, are irrational about Paolo. And, I've had this debate a lot with Pacer fans. He's great. He's going to get better. And he's a guy that you could build a championship team around. I mean, point blank. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to Magic fans. I really believe that, truly.
So, talking about one former Pacer, Buddy Hield, is a player that that Magic fans have, I wouldn't say fallen in love with over recent years in terms of players they might want to acquire, but I think he's certainly somebody the Magic might have their eye on this summer as somebody that could come off the bench and help spread the floor. He departed Indiana for Philly. What's your take on what happened? And for the Magic fans that don't know, what happened in terms of falling out of Indiana? Because going into the start of last season, he basically said he wanted out, didn't he?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys watched Locked On Magic. I never missed the show, but I think it was today's episode or yesterday. There's an episode dedicated to Buddy Hield. I'll be interested to watch that and see what I can't remember the host's name of that show. I watch it every day. How about Phil.
Yeah.
Philip.
Yes. So I'll be interested to see what he said. So Buddy and Tyrese Halliburton are best friends. Tyrese Halliburton played every game of his pro career with Buddy Hield up until the trade deadline when we got rid of him. People say Buddy's a great shooter. I would amend that. I don't think that's correct. Buddy's a streaky shooter. Buddy is I mean, Buddy is not just going to be consistently at 35, 40, whatever he shot this past year. It wasn't that great. Buddy will go 6 for 6, 6 for 7, 6 for 8, 5 for 6, 5 for 9, and then he'll go 0 for 11. It's incredibly frustrating. Buddy is a better playmaker than for which people give him credit. I think he's solid. That aspect of his game usually is left out. Pacer fans had a love-hate relationship, as did King fans. We found out that Pacer fans and King fans found out, and Philly as well, that we had the same relationship with Buddy, which is a very volatile one, a very up and down, and ultimately not a great one. Most Pacer fans were ready for Buddy to go. Rick Carlisle loves motion shooters. Rick Carlisle played him too much. That was really the issue. He played him too much when Buddy shouldn't have been playing. If Buddy's hot, you leave him in. If he's not, he's a huge detriment. Huge. And so what happened was he was on the last year of his deal. I think it was a 3-year, $20 million or $4-year, $80 million. Anyway, it averaged about $20 million. It was a declining salary. So I think this last year he made like $18.9 or something. But he wanted to extend with the Pacers. The Pacers wanted to extend him. Buddy felt he should be making around $20 million a year again for 3 or 4 years, and the Pacers thought he shouldn't. And they could not come to an agreement. And I don't know if Buddy thought that because Halliburton wanted them there so badly that would force the Pacers to, basically concede to his demands, because he wouldn't budge. He would not, at least that's the reporting. The reporting is he would not budge off that number, and so the Pacers had no choice but to trade him. I was concerned when they traded him because I didn't know how that would affect Tyrese Halliburton. You've been best friends with this guy since you came in the league, or right around the time you came in the league. You played every single game with him as a pro. They really, really, really care for each other. Like, you'll see sometimes after games, even after the playoff games, when Tyrese would be coming to the podium to talk, there's a couple times where people, some eagle-eye folks were able to see that he had Buddy on FaceTime. He was talking to Buddy as he went up there. That was twice, I think, maybe 3 times. He loves the guy. He absolutely loves him. And so I was worried how that would affect him. I don't think it was good for Tyrese. I think when Tyrese came back from injury, he wasn't great. And that was to be expected. But I think he was pretty bad sometimes. Not just bad by his standards. He was bad. And I thought some of it had to do with adjusting without Buddy. I really think that was the case. So, I've had Magic fans, not just you guys, ask me about Buddy. Would he be good on the Magic? Yes, for the right price. And if he played the amount that kind of coincides with, his talent level at this point. If the Magic fans believe they're going to come in and he's just going to space the floor really well, I don't agree. I think he can at some point. But the problem is that when Buddy's not hitting well, I think probably everyone knows that. I don't know if they'll fully back off of him, but the gravity on the court is not going to be the same when he's not hitting. That's my opinion. That's how I would scout him, just based on having watched him play well over 150 games with the Pacers. It was the end needed to come. I wish it would have been under different circumstances, but yeah, that's how it played out with Buddy, more or less.
Let's hope if he's watching this, his alleged burner account doesn't come after the pod.
So I don't know if you guys saw. So his burner account's been pretty well known. He's changed the name of it since I really interacted with it. But at one point, what did I say? I don't know what I said, but I responded to him, and I love Buddy. I love Buddy, and I even put that subsequent belief. But he told me basically to mind my own business, drive to the unemployment, and get a job. And so I quote tweeted that, and it got. I've since had more views on a tweet, but at this point, it was by far the most I'd ever had at that point, 500,000, because Buddy Hield's burner responded to me. Now, there's debate about whether it's Buddy Hield or not. What I do believe is that it's someone close to Buddy Hield. This account was talking about looking for hamburger places in Philly well before we traded him, when there first was talks about Pacers not being willing to extend him the deal he wanted. This account came out and said, well, I guess I'll start looking for burger spots in Philly. This was a couple of months before he went to Philly. And there are some other instances where it's clear that it's someone he knows or it's him. Someone did a deep dive and showed that he never tweeted during a game. Now, that's since changed. He probably has someone do it for him. I think Buddy probably does. I would say Buddy probably operates it, but I don't know. But, yeah, that account, I don't get to see it as much anymore because it's not a Pacer, but that's a fun account. Yes, if he's watching, he takes things personally, and he might come after me again.
It's all right.
So, yeah, Magic fans, I don't know.
You're safe in the UK.
Yeah, and Magic fans, if you want to have fun with the burner account, then by all means sign it. But if you think you're going to get this knockdown shooter, consistent knockdown shooter, you're not. So, anyway, I wish the best for Buddy. I love Buddy. I really do. But yeah.
So with Buddy Hield dealt with there, Wes, what do you think a good off-season for the Magic would look like? What do you think the areas of need are, and how could we fill them in your eyes?
Well, the immediate needs are a guard, ideally a point guard, who can shoot, play off the ball. And I think you guys need another big man. I like Wendell Carter, but let's face it, the Magic have deep playoff runs in the future, in their rightfully and as the logical kind of assumption that that's where they're going. I don't know if that's Wendell Carter. He gets injured too much. I think I was looking the other night. I don't know if he's ever played like more than 60 or 65 games in a season, and he's been in the league a little bit. I mean, the trade was fine because you got off what's his name? The guy who plays for the Bulls now.
Vucevic.
Yes, thank you. And you also used one of those draft picks, or maybe two of them. Maybe you got multiple draft picks. One of those, I think, became Franz. Maybe one became Jalen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
No,
so,
you're right.
I mean, it was so worth it. But I think guys need a new center. And how do you address that? My ideal / realistic offseason for the Magic is Tyus Jones and Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, the Knicks can offer Isaiah Hartenstein 4 years, $72 million. The Magic, depending on what they do with Joe Ingles and Mo Wagner, I think they're going to renege. They're not going to pick for the salaries of both. Mo Wagner will be on the team next year, so don't jump on me for that. But I think they're going to renounce not pick up the salaries for both. That'll give them close to, I want to say, $50 million in salary cap. So they can throw money at iHeart that the Knicks simply cannot throw at him. He'd have to be willing, he being iHeart, would have to be willing to take less to stay with the Knicks. I think he would be perfect on the Magic. There's not a lot of other good free agent centers out there. Now, maybe they could trade. If they're going to trade, then they'll have to pick up the salary for Joe Ingles. They don't have a lot of guys they can or would trade. I mean, there's not a lot of big salaries that I think you guys would even trade. I mean, I think the highest guaranteed is Cole Anthony, like 12.5 now.
Yeah.
Jonathan Isaac's at 17.4, but that's only partially guaranteed. So anyway, the best offseason is point guard and a center. I think Tyus Jones, maybe Malik Monk, and Isaiah Hartenstein. I've seen some people talk about Trae Young, even Darius Garland, even D'Angelo, and those guys are fine. I mean, they're more than fine. But I wouldn't want the Magic to sign a point guard who is ball dominant. Now, that seems kind of counterintuitive. All our point guards ball dominant. Well, yes, a lot of times, but I don't want the ball out of Paolo and Franz's hands that much. I want the offense to run through them a lot. What I want is a point guard who can run the show when they are off the court, even if they're on, if they need a break or whatever, and who can shoot and who can play off ball and shoot off ball. That's not D'Angelo. That's not Trae Young. That's not Darius Garland. I think you'd have to pay too much for definitely Trae and Darius. So I think Tyus Jones or Malik Monk. Malik Monk, by the way, is a really good playmaker. I don't know how much you guys have watched him play. I watched every game he played with the Lakers, a lot of games he played with the Kings. Especially high pick and roll. He's a really, really good playmaker. So he would be fine. I think he would be just fine. I would rather have Tyus Jones. I think Tyus would be a little bit cheaper. And I think Tyus is a better playmaker, and Tyus is a great shooter. And so, yeah, Tyus Jones, Isaiah Hartenstein. And you guys have, the 18th pick? Is that right? 18th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Khalil Ware, he played for my undergrad alma mater at IU. I think would be a great center to draft. I think he would be great. I don't know how much he would hit this coming year, but I think he would be a great player to draft. You guys need to draft. I mean, you have Anthony. I'm pretty high on Anthony Black. He needs to be a better shooter, but that's not news to anyone. I think Anthony Black is going to take over for Markelle Fultz. I don't think Markelle Fultz will be back next year, personally. I don't think he should be back. And if he is back, it'll be at or if they ask him to be back, it'll be at a number that he's not going to accept. So, that's my ideal offseason. I don't think the Magic should push for Paul George. I think that's a mistake, just like I don't think the Pacers should do that. I don't know how realistic it is for the Pacers to do that, but the Magic have the cap room. They can sign PG. I just don't think the Magic are right there at the cusp of contending for a title, just like I don't think the Pacers are. I think they're both 2 years-ish away, and if you go in with PG, who, by the way, gets hurt all the time, by the way, he's not an alpha. He kind of likes to – he played for the Pacers, obviously you guys know that. Mm-hmm. There's a real issue. He's not a great leader. He just would not take the reins like Halliburton has, like Reggie did. So I think that would be a mistake. I think it would be a monumental mistake to sign Clay. Clay's going to be probably 25-ish million, I'm guessing, is what he's going to get, maybe 20, 25. The Magic just aren't there yet. They're not ready for that. Let's bring in that vet who can, we can sign him to a big deal and we'll make our move now. Paolo's almost 22. I don't know. How old's Franz? Is he a little bit older? He might be a little bit older. Anyway, those guys are in the early 20s. They're not ready yet. Anthony Black isn't ready. You guys have a young team. Cole Anthony, I think Cole Anthony's not. He'll be back, right? Yeah, he's not a restricted free agent. I like Cole Anthony, by the way. I think he's fine off the bench. But, yeah, they're just not ready. And getting Paul George or Klay Thompson or both would just be a big mistake, in my opinion. Yeah. So, Tyus Jones, iHeart, Kalel Ware. That's the perfect offseason for the Magic. I mentioned
Kalel Ware a couple of podcasts ago as well.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, Project Big for the Magic to look into.
He might be there at 18. I don't know. I haven't looked that much in this draft yet. Maybe I should. I just haven't yet. It wouldn't surprise me if he's there. The draft is so weak, though. Maybe he gets taken earlier. I don't know. But I would love him on the Magic. Love him. He doesn't take a ton of threes, but he's got a decent shot, decent percentage. I just think he'd be perfect. He'd be a few years away from really contributing, but the Magic have a few years before they're really ready to compete for a title.
Yeah.
Let's just switch it up and talk Magic free agents. We've got a couple coming up. Just wanted to see what your thoughts were, Wes. Okay. So I'll just reel them off, for yourself and the listeners. So, Gary Harris, Goga Bitadze, Markel Fultz, all being unrestricted. Chumo KK and the two-way players Admiral Schofield, Traveling Queen, and Kevon Harris are restricted. Whereas you got Mo Wagner and Joe Ingles with the team options. You discussed that a little bit, but from an outsider's perspective on some of the others you didn't mention in your previous little segment. Which of these players attracts the most attention and why?
I think Goga will attract quite a bit of attention. You can probably get it. I think it's the deal. I think it's just on a vet min. He'll get a little more than that. You won't have to pay a lot for a solid backup center. I wouldn't mind if the Pacers went after him. We need a backup center. He's played with us before, but that relationship ended pretty poorly. I doubt he'll come back. I think Goga will. I think Fultz will, but here's the issue with Fultz. Fultz is the best of those three. That's not saying a ton, but he's the best of those three. I don't know if he's going to be willing to pay what will probably be market value. I don't know. To get the MLE, 12.8, I don't know. I wouldn't want my team to pay that for him. I like Markel. I do. He's never going to be a great three-point shooter. That's just the way it is. And that's hard to be a point guard to make a lot of money if you really can't space the floor. He's a pretty good player. He's an all right defender. He's good. And, yeah, so I think Goga. I think Gary Harris. A lot of it depends on what are these guys willing to take. I have no idea. Gary Harris coming off, like a 13 or 15 million deal. Markel Fultz is like 18 or something. Are they willing to take a fraction of that? Are they willing to take half of that? I don't know. Gary Harris is, I don't know, maybe $8 million? I don't know. I just don't know what they're willing to take. If they are willing to take what I think is consistent with their realistic value, probably Markel, Gary, and then Goga in that order. Is Okiki a restricted, by the way? Is he a restricted free agent? Or is he ever?
No, I think he's unrestricted.
Unrestricted. No, he's restricted. According to my notes. Yeah. But I can't see him coming back, to be honest with you.
No, I can't see him coming back either. Teams might jump on him quicker just because I think you can get him for cheaper and without the hassle of trying to haggle over price. I still am high on Okiki. I really am. The Magic, he did not work out for the Magic. Caleb Houston, is the superior player. I think Caleb Houston is going to be a good player. I like Caleb Houston. He had some bad games. I get it. But the Magic don't have I'm talking less about the free agents, but Magic don't have a lot of backup wings. They have good wings to start, but they need a backup wing. And I think, without getting one in free agency, Caleb Houston will probably have to do, and I think he can do. But Okiki is not, he's not coming back. A team's going to give him a chance, and probably for more than the vet men. So, I know I'm really drawing this out. I think they all will have attraction by teams in the league. I think it comes down to, at least with the first three, Goga, especially Gary Harris and Markel Fultz. What will they accept? I don't know what team's going to pay Markel Fultz probably what he wants. I don't know if there is a team. Of course, I don't know what he wants. I'm just guessing. I think those three, they will get picked up. I kind of wondered if the Magic would end up signing Gary Harris to a cheaper deal. I don't know if he wants to be back. I don't know how he feels about that. I don't know how the Magic feel about that. But I could maybe see him back. But yeah, I think all three of them will attract attention. They will all be on a team next year. I don't know how happy they'll be on their new teams, but yeah. And Okeke, I definitely think I wouldn't mind if the Pacers got Okeke, to be quite honest, on $2 million, $4 million deal. The Traveling Queen, I was talking about him last night, which is interesting that I was talking about it. But when you guys were really injured, was the end of December, early January? I want to say when it was like a mass unit out there. I mean, there's so many people hurt. I think at one point it was just like Paolo was the only consistent starter, and then he won that game against Denver. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But at one point there was like back-to-back games from Traveling Queen. I think he played like 40 minutes because I was trying to sell Benny Eastside, who was not happy about saying anything good about the Magic. I was like, look, dude, look at what they had to do last year. There was a point last year when they were winning games, the Traveling Queen was having to play like 40 minutes a game. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know much about the two-way players, but yeah, those guys are gone. The previous guys you mentioned, and they'll be somewhere. I just don't know. I don't know the attraction. I guess I said I did, but I don't. That's a horrible answer because I've let this meander and said nothing
It's all
new,
good.
But that's my point of view.
Well, this is a fun one. This question's from Paul, who's also one of our co-hosts. He's at a music festival getting drunk this weekend.
Oh,
So
have fun, Paul.
so he sent this one in for you. This might be controversial as well, but could you give us a combined starting five between the Magic and the Pacers?
It will be controversial. Let me give you the one before we got Pascal Siakam, because I've thought about this. Before you asked this question, I'd already thought about this before we got Pascal. This is fairly easy. It would be Halliburton. It would be Suggs. It would be Franz. It would be Paolo, and it would be Miles Turner. That would be it. Now, I was running that kind of idea by a friend the other day. It was Benny again, and I was talking to him that I thought that I would start. Back up a couple of days ago, I posted a question on Twitter. I had a picture of both Suggs and Nembhard, and I said, who do you guys have? And the reason I asked is because Benny was trying to tell me that he thought that Nembhard was a far superior player to Suggs, which I don't necessarily agree with. Anyway, that got a ton of traction that I did not anticipate, just a ton of traction. So anyway, the idea about Nembhard versus Suggs has been on my mind. Halliburton, I would start Suggs because Nembhard is more of a point guard. Suggs is a better off guard, a shooting guard. He's better at defense, even though Nembhard's not a bad defender. So Halliburton, Suggs. Here's where it gets tricky. You got to go. I don't want to bump Paolo or Franz or Pascal up to the center. That's not going to be optimal. So I would go Paolo at small forward. I would go Siakam at power forward, and I would go Miles Turner at center. Now, I thought about having Franz at the shooting guard because I think there was one or two times during the year when I think he started at the shooting guard. The Magic played this huge lineup when they actually started Jonathan Isaac a couple times. I don't want to start Franz at the two, and I don't think he can start in front of Paolo or Pascal, and I don't want to do Paolo or Pascal at the center. I mean, that's how you could do it. Kick Miles Turner to the bench, have Paolo or Pascal at the center, then the other one at the power forward, then Franz, then Suggs, then Halliburton. That would be how I would do it. And then off the bench, you're going to have Nembhard, you're going to have Jonathan Isaac, you're going to have Franz, you're going to have Nesmith. Those are probably your first four off the bench. And that team, by the way, that team's definitely going to the finals. I mean, I know the Celtics are great, but that's a really, really, really good team.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we can get Adam Silver to agree to let in his combined forces, but that would be a really good team. But yeah, I would have to have Franz come off the bench. I wouldn't start him at the two, and I couldn't start him in front of Paolo or Pascal. So that's how I would do it.
Because that's the five I had.
That's the five I had.
Yeah, well, Pacer fans aren't going to like that. Pacer fans are going to be upset that I didn't start Nembhard over Suggs. And let me just tell you, I think both of those guys are really, really good. Really good players. They have similar skill sets, but Nembhard is better when the ball is running through. I don't know how much you guys watched the playoffs. He had a really good playoffs. And a lot of that time was whenever Halliburton wasn't playing. He just played, especially in the Celtics series when Halliburton was out. Nembhard played very well, and that's not unusual. When Nembhard gets to run the show, he's a very, very, very good player, much better than when he's a shooting guard. And so why waste that skill in a combination lineup of the Magic and the Pacers when you can have him come off the bench, help lead the shock troops with Franz? So, yes, that's how I would do it.
That's cool. That's cool. Let's just switch it up about the Pacers then. So Mikal Bridges is a player that linked to the Pacers this offseason.
Yep.
What does your realistic offseason look like in Indiana?
Well, it doesn't include Mikal Bridges, which has angered quite a few Pacer fans. Some agree, but it doesn't include him. It definitely doesn't include Paul George, which I don't think is very realistic anyway. We'd have to do a sign and trade for him, unless you would take the vet men, which he's not going to do. And if to sign and trade, we'd have to send out Miles Turner, Ben Mathurin, I don't know, Obi. Just the juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze. So Mikal Bridges, someone's been brought up. I think he's 27. He might be turning 28 soon. The Pacers are not, highlight, whatever. They are not ready to compete for a title, realistically. They're just not. Mikal Bridges is a move you make, because to get Mikal Bridges, you're going to have to trade. You're definitely going to have to get rid of one of Nembhard, Mathurin, or Walker. I'd probably rather move Mathurin. That would also piss off Pacers fans. If I had to move one of those, it'd be Mathurin. But still, you're going to have to give up a young asset, draft picks, maybe two young assets. Obi Toppin is gone. He's definitely gone. T.J. McConnell's probably gone. And the Pacers aren't there yet. I know a lot of Pacers fans believe that we are ready to go, that we could have beat the Mavs, which I believe we could have. But still, we are not close to making it to a final. We're just not. We're not close. We are a couple of years away. So the ideal Pacer offseason does not involve Mikal Bridges. It doesn't involve Paul George. In fact, it's really not that exciting or sexy. I would make it a priority to bring back Obi, which we're going to. Pascal Siakam is going to be back. We'll be at 13. We'll have 13 salaries at that point, so we need two more guys. James Johnson will probably be back. That's one of Halliburton's buddies. He's also kind of Halliburton's security guard, so he'll be back. So we have one spot left.
Okay.
Yeah, or backup center. We need a backup center. We need OK. If we don't bring James Johnson back, I would want OKK to fill that. But so I don't know if you guys know the story of James Johnson, how he came. James Johnson used to play for the Pacers. You guys know he's a black belt and he's an MMA guy. So we played the Bucks earlier this year, by the way, not including the playoffs. We were 4-1 against them. This is the one game we lost. It's in Milwaukee. And it's where, I'm sure you guys know about this, it's where Giannis thought that we had stole the game ball.
Yeah.
Which we hadn't stole the game ball. The video shows it that one of the employees for the Bucks had it. Anyway, the way they treated us after that game, they really pushed us around. They intimidated us. I actually tweeted out, we need James Johnson back. Well, we brought him back the next day on a bet minute. And the first game that he was at, he was walking next to Halliburton. He had a shirt on that said security. So, he was having fun with it. But I think he'll be back. He's too old to be a two-way player. So you can't put him on a two-way. So I think he'll be back. If not, I would like Okeke. But James Johnson's probably going to be back. That's Halliburton's boy. They want him for his toughness. Whatever. If a fight breaks out, I don't know. But they'll want him. So I wouldn't mind Andre Drummond. I wouldn't mind Goga Bitadze, but I don't think Goga would come back unless we paid him more than we'd be willing to. So, yeah, that's my ideal offseason for the Pacers. Retain Obi, retain Pascal, those last two roster spots, security guard, and probably a backup center, which Pacer fans don't find that exciting, and I agree, it's not that exciting. And if we were ready to compete for a championship, I would have an exciting, realistic offseason. I'm yelling at you guys like you guys are the Pacer fans. I'm so upset. We're not ready to compete. I don't care that we just made it to the ECA. I know we made it there. I watched all the playoffs. I know we were there, but we are not ready to compete against the Celtics realistically. We're not ready to compete realistically with the help. Well, realistically, that's wrong. We're not ready. We are not the number 2 team in the East next year. We're not to begin the season, maybe by the end. But we are not ready to compete. We are not a star or a very good player away. We're not, unless that star is Giannis or Luka, something unrealistic. We are not a Mikal Bridges away. We're not a Paul George away from really competing. So, yeah, that's my ideal, very blanded, vanilla, ideal offseason for the Pacers. And that's how it'll play out, by the way. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't know who the 2 last roster spots go to. Probably James, and then a center, I don't know who that'll be. Well, we'll be eligible for the mid-level. I don't know if we'll pay it. I don't know. The Pacers are like the Magic. They don't like to pay the tax. I think the Pacers will be paying. They'll probably be paying the tax next offseason. They'll go over that first apron, I'm guessing. Magic's probably too. I don't know if we'll ever see either of those teams get the second apron. If we do, that's probably a good sign. That means they're probably ready to compete. Or they've done something stupid like signing Klay Thompson or Paul George to a long-term contract or something. But, yeah, so, look, I would be really disappointed. I want the Magic to win. I don't want them to beat the Pacers, but in all other instances, I want them to win. I want the best for them. I would be really bummed if they took a big leap on Paul George or Klay Thompson. Paul George is better than Klay, but I would rather run every. Now, Magic fans are right if they just ran everything back. If the options were, well, we could have got Klay or Paul George, that was it. We said no, so we're going to run everything back. You know, they at that point, I think they have what, 9? If they pick up Ingles and Mo, and in that case, I think they would. Yeah, how many players they have? They have to fill 4 roster spots with some very uninspiring names. But yeah, I think the Magic would be a big mistake. Oh, let me talk to you about Mo Wagner really quick. Mm-hmm. He's going to be back on the Magic, in my opinion. Yep. But if you see them not pick up his $8 million and Joe Ingles is 11, that's how they go from like $30 million to $50 million in cap space. Mm-hmm. If you see them not pick up both or one, that means they have something big cooking up. Because what they can do with Mo Wagner, and you guys follow Keith Smith, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had him on a couple of weeks ago.
He lives in Orlando, so yeah, he's a Celtics fan. But anyway, he taught me everything I need to know, or that I do know. I need to know more about the cap. And so he was talking about not picking up Mo Wagner's $8 million. Then they could use the room exception if they don't use their MLE, which they wouldn't. And the room exception allows 3 years, $24 million, so $8 million. So they give him exactly what he's making, but they could release him, release Joe Ingles, use that cap space, bring it back, and then they could use the room exception with it not. I don't know if it would count towards the cap or wouldn't count going over the cap. It's kind of like bird. Do they have bird rights? Yeah, I think they do. Maybe they don't. Whatever. They could use the room exception, and they could bring him back. That, to me, I want to see the Magic take a big swing, a realistic swing, though, something that's consistent with where they are in their development. Malik Monk / Tyus Jones or iHeart would just be perfect for them. I mean, perfect for the Magic. So, yeah, and then bring Mo Wagner back. You got to bring Mo back. He's great. His brother's going to want him there, and Mo's good. Someone's told me, it's just, he's just nepotism. I said, no, bro. Mo Wagner is good. A lot of people who talk to me about the Magic have never watched a game. Maybe they watched 1 or 2. Mo Wagner is good. He played really solid ball for the Magic last year. He was a good backup center. He played very, very, very good. He's tougher than hell, man. He is so tough. Against the Pacers, I don't know if he hit a shot or Paolo hit a shot, and Paolo slides on the floor and acts like he's surfing. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And Mo Wagner looks at the Pacer bench and flexes on it. I mean, I booed him, but it was just like a great moment. And seeing Paolo looked like he was surfing. He slid on the floor and he acted like he was surfing. That's when you guys went up by like 20. Now, we came back and had the lead, but we lost. But still, I like Mo's moxie, and I think keeping Franz happy is good. Franz, I think about him in basketball terms, obviously. I don't think about his personal life. But his shot last year, I don't know what happened. I wonder if he's a little bit tired from FIBA. I think a few guys were, like Austin Reeves had a horrible start to the season. But when I saw Franz play, he had a really flat shot. I watched him play at Michigan because my undergrad alma mater is IU, so it's Big Ten. So I watched Michigan play a lot. His shot looked really flat, and his shot wasn't great. And then towards the end of the year, looked like he was scared to take a shot. He's got to get a shot back, but he can. He's shown he's a good three-point shooter. But that's what I'm looking for from Franz this coming year, is getting his confidence back in his shot. He has to. To hit his ceiling, he has to do that. So anyway, I was thinking about his shot the other day because I was thinking about what would I want as a Magic fan, and that's one of the things I'd want to see is that. Anyway.
He needs to get back to that 36% from 3 because
yes.
This season
he was in the 20s. He was in the 20s, right? I don't know the exact number, but he's in the 20s. I don't even know if it's the high 20s. Whatever the case, high, low. That's not good enough. And I mean, Franz is good at getting in the lane or whatever, and he's good at finishing at the rim. He has a little cotton shot around the mid range. But dude, if you're shooting 20-some%, they're not even going to guard you. And how do you can't drive if they're all sagging back 3 or 4 feet? So, and towards the end of the year, he wouldn't even shoot that open shot. They were going to give him the shot, and he would kind of like hesitate. But no, dude, now that you've hesitated, it's over. You're out of your rhythm. So yeah, he's got to get back to the 36. Just anything that's respectable, so defenses will have to respect him. That's all you really need. He doesn't even have to shoot a ton of threes, even though I would like for him to. But if he can just shoot 36% just so they have to guard him, which opens up so much more on offense for the Magic. If they're not guarding him and they're not guarding – Suggs ended up being a pretty good three-point shooter. But if, they're sagging off Paolo, if they're sagging off – who else? Wendell Carter. I guess Wendell Carter's okay. But anyway, the spacing isn't great. And, yeah, part of that reason is because Franz's shot just, I don't know when I feel like it wasn't good all year. I just feel like it wasn't. I really started watching him after the moments when I had a lot of Magic fans reach out to me in a really difficult time in my life. So I really became more invested in watching the Magic. So from November on, I watched, and it just wasn't a great shot from Franz. He still had a really good year, but yeah, 36 is what, I don't know if that's what he was a year prior, but he needs to be back in that area, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think he's going to be able to get back there? What do you guys think's going on? This is your pod, but I'm curious. I want to ask you guys anyway. What do you think happened? I mean,
for me, I think coming from the fever, he's basically been this Iron Man type player who's playing practically every game, and he started the season looking tired. The shot was flat out the gates. And I think this season we could have done with where Franz gets a little bit of a break in the off season, which isn't going to happen. But the shot's there. He got to the point where by the time it was the playoffs, I think he was overthinking it.
So anyway, sorry, I'm interrupting you guys. Go ahead.
I mean, the guy's still an 85% free throw shooter, so that tends to translate to the three as well for a lot of players, and he's proven in his first two seasons. I mean, looking back here, in his rookie season, he shot 35.4%, 36% last season.
Okay.
So he's going to have a bounce back season. Franz works hard. You can tell he's one of those players. He's going to put a lot of time in the off season to work on that shot and find that consistency again. And he's got a point to prove because game 7 against against Cleveland, he felt like he let his team down, and it wasn't just on Franz to lose game 7.
That game was
it was just one of those games. Yeah, absolutely.
But you kind of want a guy. I want one of my star players. They shouldn't have to take that look, but I like the fact that bothered him, that he wanted to put it on himself. I don't think he should have, but still, he is clearly passionate about the team. You can tell he works hard, and I think he came into the season tired. His shot was a little flat, and then he got in his own head. That's what I think happened. But you're right, the free throw, I didn't even think about that. He's clearly still got the touch. I just think he was tired, his legs were off, and then he got in his head a little bit. So, what do you guys think about the Cleveland series? Like, what was your opinion? What are your thoughts? Curious.
I'm just glad that, we managed to get, like you said, some experience, go to 7 games. We obviously, took care of business at home. Unfortunately, during the regular season, we were 1 game off getting home court advantage as the 4th seed, which might have made a difference. Paolo played great, got some great exposure, and you kind of got to see, who the deadwood was and who can we keep the roster with as to build to going forward. You've mentioned, Paolo is an absolute star. Franz can do it. Obviously, we touched upon he had 2 games where he was superb. Obviously, the game 7, he had a bit of a letdown game, but that's going to happen. You get ups and downs in basketball. So, all in all, it was a successful season, more than we anticipated at the beginning of the season. If we avoided the play-in, it'd been seen as a successful season. Getting the 5th seed, superb. So, we just want to build on that again next season.
Obviously, anyone who's watching, like a lot of people on X will know who you are, but would you like to plug your socials for anyone who's a viewer now?
Well, what is my handle? Is it West Trueblood? Yeah, it's West Trueblood. And maybe it's at Wesley Trueblood, which is my birth name, and I go by West Trueblood. I was doing, before my dog got sick, I'd been doing spaces regularly. And when I kind of felt better, the season was almost over. So I'm going to start doing spaces about, Pacer space about our off season once the actual the postseason ends. And so, I make announcements on Twitter about when I'm going to do spaces. I don't have a social media outside of Twitter. I've only had Twitter for like a year. And so I had, long story I won't get into, but I had gotten rid of all my social media accounts a while ago for a person for whom I was in love. At their request, that's changed. I still love them, but we're no longer together. So, and then therefore now I have, I'm really far afield. Anyway, I have a Twitter account, West Trueblood. I do Pacer Spaces where I don't talk about my love life, where I stick to the script. Don't talk about, love scorned, love lost, whatever. I keep it really tight to the vest in terms of Pacers. And I talk about Magic as well, because I know the most about them outside of the Pacers. So, that's what I have to plug. Nothing over the top, but that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a really good account for anyone who hasn't seen Wes on there.
Well,
I've
thank
interacted
you.
with
Thank
it. It
you.
is a spot on account, as we'd say in the UK. It's good. So let's take a quick break to tell you about today's partner. Are you looking for tickets? Are you looking for hotels for the world's best theme parks, attractions, or you just want to get over to Orlando and watch the Magic play? Check out Attraction Tickets, the UK's #1 attraction ticket provider. Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, Disneyland Paris, other popular attractions which bring in the crowds. They also sell Magic tickets, so if you're thinking for a trip over the pond for next season, do consider looking at Attraction Tickets. Use our link in the description and see what they have to offer. You can also look on our website, letstalkmagic.com, for any of our affiliate links and discount codes, which includes the NBA store and Fanatics. So if you're fancying getting a Euros jersey for the teams that are in it, like England or Scotland, you can do that. Or if you just win things like G, you might even find a shirt on there. Okay. So really quickly, looking around the NBA, finals shows how much I know about basketball, because I thought Dallas really had a shot at this, but right now it doesn't look like it. Quick thoughts on how the finals stand. So, G, I know you spoke a little bit about this in the intro. Mikey, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to be honest, I've only watched a quarter and a half. And that was of game one when I saw that Porzingis went off and that game looked like it was done. Yeah, I haven't really watched other than a few highlights of the other two games. I am surprised Boston have walked away with it at this point. I thought Luka being the best player in the series would give them a chance. And I know Kyrie's gone missing for them in a couple of games. I'm quite, to be honest, given the scoreline, I'm quite glad that I haven't actually watched much of it. So, yeah, I mean, Boston were favourites at the start of the season. I had them pegged as my winners. I know G, listening to last week's episode, said Boston would win it. They've had an easy run to the finals, really, let's be honest. But they have been the best team all season. And I think they're showing it against Dallas. I do think if they maybe play Denver, I think it would be a very different story. I think matchups are certainly a key part of why it's a 3-0 series so far. But yeah, it's disappointing that team are on the verge of winning it again, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched every single game. In fairness, Boston, they bossed it throughout. You know, Dallas have thrown some punches. They've taken leads in game 2 and game 3. But the thing is, Boston have countered and they've just withstood what Dallas can throw at them. Luka is the best player in the series, but unfortunately, Boston are playing such a good team game and almost using Tatum as a bit of a decoy. And you're getting a lot of scoring help from the role players. Drew Holiday's having a fantastic series. Al Horford. The Boston players have really come to the party, I'm afraid to say. So it is a bit disappointing. But, you know, Dallas are a bit banged up. But what I think this shows is, you know, Boston got to the finals a couple of years ago, and obviously they lost to Miami last year. They've obviously learned their lesson a little bit. They've taken their medicine and they've come back stronger. And, you know, rightfully they are 3-0 up, as much as it pains me to say it. And I know the likes of Rich Barrett's going to clip this now, me talking good about Boston, but unfortunately that's what it is.
That terribly weak Eastern Conference, eh?
A beat up Eastern Conference, isn't it?
Well, it's a terribly weak Eastern Conference that can't hold a candle to the West, but it looks like we're going to have the title going to the East, so maybe it's not that weak after all.
Yeah.
Another quick one here is Bleacher Report, one of our favourites, had a trade which had the Magic receiving Trae Young and Michael Porter Jr. It's really, I think, split the Magic fan base from the cross-section I've seen. We would lose Jonathan Isaac, Cole, Anthony Black, 3 first-round picks in 25, 27, and 29. Drew, I'm pretty sure I saw you in the Twitter group saying that you would pull the trigger on this.
Looking at it, first and foremost, you know, you get Trae Young. You obviously, it's a blow to lose those players and those picks, but to get somebody the caliber of Trae Young, what I didn't delve deeper into is the salary of Michael Porter Jr. Now, he's owed a lot of money, and he's contracted through 26, 27, and I think, I'll pull up the numbers, nearly 36 million next season, 38 the following, 40 the year after that, and that's going cap in hand with Trae Young, who's having 43, 45, and 48. So that really puts you in cap misery, especially with the extensions. We're likely to see Franz, Paolo, and possibly Jalen offered. So your flexibility goes out the window, and you're taking your swing with those two players. So it looks good, but I think you'd probably lose the identity of the team, especially with Jonathan Isaac and the defensive prowess that he sort of brings to the Magic. So on reflection, I think it's a hard pass.
Okay, so a bit of a U-turn there. The Kia Starmer of the pod, Mikey. What do you think?
I would pass, and I think Michael Porter Jr.'s contract is the big reason why. Trae Young arguably fills our biggest need this summer. I think a lead guard who can handle the ball, shoot the three, spread the floor, I think should be probably top of the Magic's list of needs this summer. But and I think Trae Young would be a great addition. But yeah, Michael Porter's contract really is concerning. And if you look at his, not just that, if you look at his injury history, I know he coming out of college, he had the back injury. This season, I think he played 81 games for Denver. But before this season, I think 62 was maybe the most he's played. So he's not proven that he can stay healthy either. And I think that's a big gamble to pay somebody who's, is it a max contract or close to?
It is a max contract.
It is a max contract for a player who's really, if you're adding Trae Young to the team, who's then arguably becoming your third or fourth best player, who's getting a max contract, and that worries me. Because you want to maintain some flexibility moving forwards as well. So yeah, it ticks the box in one regard with Trae Young adding a guard, but yeah, not for me, not happening.
How about you, Gar?
Report.
I think it's a lot of money to put into Michael Porter Jr., who wouldn't possibly not get into the starting lineup. If you look at that team, you're going to put Trae Young, Jalen Suggs as your backcourt. You're looking, I would say, at Franz and Paolo. So you were essentially playing max contract for a sixth man.
Yeah.
So it's not a one I would really wouldn't jump into. I think there's probably better offers out there. And I think it's one of those where we're going to be looking at every trade that comes out, and it's going to divide the fan base unless it's Luka or something that's coming back and we're giving up a reasonable package that doesn't include Paolo. So I think pretty much every trade's going to divide us. So we'll be ready for that.
Yeah.
Quickly, the mailbag. We've got some questions from Patreon. I think we've got time to delve into a few of these. So are you ready, boys?
Let's do it.
Go for it.
First one's from Gary Clark, and he says, do you think we'll be alive by the time they start and finish development of the entertainment district opposite Kia? So, Mikey, I'll go to you for this one. What do you reckon?
Yes. And I'll probably have a few more grey hairs by the time it gets built as well. But yeah, I think Alex Martin said when we had him on the podcast that I think later this year is when they're going to start breaking ground on the building and laying the foundation. So yeah, hopefully in a few years' time it'll be done. And it's been talked about for like 10 plus years now, hasn't it? It's been a long, long time. But yeah, it will happen, Gary. I promise. But we got to be patient.
We've got to be patient. So the next question comes from Podfather Phil, and I'm going to put this one to G. If we knew we weren't going to keep Gary Harris, Juma, Markel, Goga, and Joe Ingles, I know that Markel being in the past tense really will make you twitch. Why didn't we package them at the trade deadline to get a rental and make the team better? And Phil predicts the starters next year to be Hartenstein, Banchero, Franz, either Clay or PG-13, and Jalen Suggs.
Okay, so it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, a lot of trades did go down, so it's all down to who is available. Obviously, we know that, some dominoes fell early. Terry Rozier went to the Heat. Pat Bev went back to the Bucks for campaign. Buddy Hield, of course, went from the Pacers to the Sixers. And obviously, Dallas did some great work with Gafford and PJ Washington. So those are players who did move. I know the Dallas one, the boys are highlighted at the moment because they've made the run and they've got deep. But then obviously there's a couple of, Bogdanovic on the Knicks, Alec Burks on the Knicks, moves that were made. Terry Rozier didn't really contribute towards the playoffs for those teams. So I'm hoping, chances are that the Magic asked the question. Maybe the fit didn't work, and potentially, we just wanted to see how some of these players panned out, especially in the playoffs. So that's probably what I'm thinking did happen, and just letting the team grow organically as opposed to just pulling the trigger on some of these other names.
It felt like a bit of a free swing. Let's see what we've got season.
Yes.
So the last question I'll throw out there, and I think it's an interesting talking point. It's from Barry, and he asks, do we pad the roster with 2 or so role players, or do we go all in for the max contract star to help Paolo and Franz? So for argument's sake, I guess that would be Paul George when you look at the free agents who are kicking around. So G, I'll start with you and then I'll go to Mikey. What do you reckon?
It's a difficult one, this one. It's going to go one way or the other, isn't it? It depends about, your Paul Georges or who becomes available. Gun to my head, I think we'd probably just go with two or so role players, just because I think the Magic could be a bit more conservative, keep that cap flexibility with the notion of, there might be a disgruntled star that we can put stuff together for that might fill the, the need for us a bit better. If you go, with your 2 stars, like we've seen in that example of Trae Young and Michael Porter Jr., you're kind of locked in with those players and you lose that flexibility. So I can see us probably doing, role players as opposed to stars. But, who knows? A star would be nice, wouldn't it?
Mikey, what's your take? G says a star would be nice, but he thinks it'll be role players.
Yeah, I think we're looking, as I kind of hinted at, I think we're looking at a starting guard and somebody who's going to help spread the floor off the bench. I think that's the main 2 areas for me. I don't think if Paul George was maybe 2 or 3 years younger, I think it would be a perfect player to add alongside what we've already got. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't see. I don't see us taking that risk. It's an unnecessary risk to throw a max contract at Paul George when, given his injury history, he's a really good player. I like Paul George, but Paolo and Franz are still so young that we don't need to take a big risk at this point. To me, that's the sort of addition you make if you're a borderline Eastern Conference, borderline NBA Finals team. You add that final piece to try and put you over the top, and I don't think we're quite there yet. So I think given that we're still expecting a lot more internal growth and Franz to have a better shooting season next year, I think things like that will keep us at least where we were this year, even if we win a first round playoff series next year and make the second round really competitive. I think that's an improvement from where we were this year. We can take baby steps and still see progress. It hasn't got to be you've made the playoffs and then all of a sudden next season you've got to make the Eastern Conference Finals for it to be a success. We can still have a lot more patience. And I know Anthony Parker was on the pod squad this week and he was kind of hinting at the Magic still have this. They still want to be disciplined with their approach this summer. So I think that's definitely an important way to look at it for sure.
Absolutely. So just for the updates as well, before coming on air, the word going round on NBA media is that right now it's thought the Clippers and Paul George's camp aren't really on the same page or in communication. So it seems as though, has that been leaked? Has it broken down? But it's an interesting situation. And I was watching something this morning when I was getting ready for work, and it was again one of the NBA journalists saying that it was almost a reminder that Orlando is still there, but we all know that we're probably not the ones leaking that. It could be coming from elsewhere. Yeah. So, anyone who's stuck with us, which I hope it's all of you, if you've clicked on the link, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you for listening and watching. But before we go, we'd like to say a huge shout out to our patrons who help support the show. So we've got Barry Conn, Paolo and Franz Warmth, Ollie Law, Gary Clark, Angus Craig, Dylan Holden, Alan Kane, Tom Sohn, Mark Joss, Sean Moore, Liam Radbourne, Andy Lindy, Stuart Benzies, drum, drummy drum, and Podfather Phil loves Hazy Northwestern. If you're interested in joining the Patreon tiers, we have 3 of them available, various benefits out there. Please visit patreon.com/Let's Talk Magic to join today. So, on behalf of Paul, who isn't here this week, he's in the middle of a field getting rained on somewhere, myself, G, and Mikey, go Magic.